Hello. Hello. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for watching today. My name is Marlesa. I currently serve as the CEO and co founder of the Marls Collective. And today I am here to talk to you about purpose centered branding. And what we're going to talk about is how you can turn your why, your purpose on why you do what you do, into practical messaging and proof that your customers can actually feel. So it's made to be tactical, light, but something that you can implement either the same day you finish this video, the next week, or whenever you're ready to take that step. So I'll just go over a brief introduction on who I am just to give you more background. And then for those of you who don't know me, give you a chance to know me a little bit better. My name is Marlesa Willis. I am the CEO and co-founder of the Marls Collective. I serve as a brand strategist, a business owner, and I'm a native of Birmingham, Alabama. We started the Marls Collective back in 2022, myself and my business partner, Marley Townsend. And she serves as our chief creative officer. So she leads, directs, and finalizes all of the creative deliverables we have for our clients. In the meantime, I also volunteer within the marketing community and the Birmingham community at large. And my favorite title of all is that I am an aspiring rich auntie. Aspiring to be rich, I'm already auntie, and I'm pretty great at it. So just thought I'd give you a little hindsight on who I am. Just full disclosure, this original presentation was created for an in-person facilitation. So some of the pain points or examples I might use were very, very relevant to that group. If something doesn't relate to you, what I like to tell people is to take what you need and leave what you don't. Treat knowledge and anything that you consume as a buffet. You know, there are going to be things on there you don't like. You don't necessarily have to internalize those things, but it's good to know that they're out there and maybe try something new every now and then. In terms of how I like to work, I believe that impact is going to be popularity every time. It's sustainable, it's loyalty building, and it creates longevity for you and your brand. So we're going to skip the next slide. Because like I said, it was originally formatted for in person, but I wanted to record it so that those of you who missed the event had an opportunity and almost an evergreen access to this resource. Next, we want to talk about why purpose-centered branding. So I wanted to make sure that you understand that purpose is such a big buzzword these days, especially with a lot of corporations. But it isn't fluff. It isn't just something you say so that people feel good. It's actually a signal that allows people to know it's okay to buy and trust you to keep your word. There is a study that shows that consumers are 4 to 6 times more likely to trust, buy, recommend, and most importantly, protect brands with a very strong purpose. Also, people prefer companies that stand for something bigger and they demonstrate that commitment. They don't just talk about it, they actually put their money where their mouth is. So if your organization or your business supports a particular cause, let's say you want to make sure that no person goes hungry ever. So not only are you donating to the food kitchens, maybe you're volunteering your time or donating materials that they need, or if you are a service-based organization, maybe you're giving them discounts on services and you're using that to reassure your clientele at large that yes, we stick to this is a value that is important to us. It maybe nothing to do with what we do every day, but it's part of our why. We do what we do so that we can provide resources to people so they don't have to be hungry. I think that's something everyone can relate to. And then lastly, many people say that if they have shared values with the company or the business, the small business that they're purchasing from, or the organization that they're supporting, they're more likely to give or buy because those values matter so much to them, right? So I want to give you a simple way to kind of turn your purpose into some day-to-day action so your customers can see for themselves what your purpose is. They don't necessarily have to ask. And in the back of your mind as you're watching this, keep in mind, like if there's like a campaign you've tried to do, maybe it's an ad you ran on certain media platforms and it just didn't work, like it didn't land the way you wanted it to. It could be technical. It could be the creative design involved with it, but oftentimes in which that could be formatted in those ways, but a lot of times it's because your purpose as a company or as a brand is not aligning with the proof that you've provided in this campaign that you're doing, right? So keep that in mind. And remember that purpose drives trust, advocacy, and also purchase. So I believe that it is so important that we break down what brand purpose is before we get practical, right? Before we get into the rules of engagement, I should say. Brand purpose is the reason you exist for a specific audience, but it's also the change that you commit to creating for that audience. It is not a tagline, it's not a catchy slogan, it's not even your logo, okay? It is literally a statement, whether you say it publicly. It could be an internal statement that only you train your employees on, or when you onboard a client, you let them know what that is about. But it is the reason you exist for this audience. And it doesn't mean it's the reason you exist for all of your audiences. Your audiences should always be broken down into segments. You're never talking to just one group of people with the work that you do, whether you provide services or products. There's going to be at least two to three, my favorite number is three, but there's going to be at least three segments of individuals that are going to be grouped together that can relate to what you're doing. So this change you commit to create is your promise. It's beyond the profits that I'm going to make from you giving me this transaction. I commit or I pledge to create this change in the world, this change in your customer's world, or this change in an industry or gap fill, whatever you want to do. So there's a one-line test you can kind of think of to help you understand better. Which is we exist to help who achieve outcome because why it matters, right? So we at the Marls Collective exist to help small business owners achieve increased brand awareness because it is important for their customers to know who they are and they feel empowered to say that confidently. Mine's a little long. This is not our technical brand purpose, but I felt like it's important for me to show you what it's like to come up with one on the spot, right? And then I wanted to kind of showcase to you what the difference was between your brand purpose and your brand's vision. So this is could be your vision statement, but it also could be your strategic plan, how you set your goals for each quarter or year, things like that. Your brand purpose is why you exist today. It is a very stable, enduring thing. It's not necessarily evergreen because brands evolve and change just like people do. But for the most part, for this section of where your company is, where your brand is, you exist today to define this brand purpose, right? Your vision is where your brand is going, where you as a group are going in terms of the company, the employees, all of that. So let's use an example of someone with a bookkeeping company or maybe, an accountant, a financial practice, right? Their one line statement may be that we exist to help local business owners get decision ready books because we believe clear numbers lead to better decisions, right? Very clean, very practical, very trustworthy. I wouldn't necessarily want a bookkeeper that uses a lot of flowery language because I need you to be logical and set on numbers, right? So then what they would say maybe would be their purpose or their vision. Their purpose is to create these decision ready books for their customers. Okay. That is the outcome that they are promising. A vision for this particular firm could be by 2028, we want to stop we want to cut month end time so that our business owners are not spending 2,000 hours trying to close out books for the month. So we want to cut month end time by 30% for at least 300 business owners. That's a measurable, achievable goal. That's a SMART goal essentially for them, right? It doesn't mean that they're going to achieve that in 2028. They probably could exceed it. Really, it's a very feasible goal. But that is where that comes from. So it's important to remember that your purpose powers decisions for today, but your vision sets the horizon for the decisions or the plans that you make for tomorrow. Um, Lastly, to round out this particular section, I want to talk about three pitfalls that we always kind of run into when we're trying to think of things that are wordy and heady like this. We don't want to be vague. Okay, so when you're vague, it's like, well, at XYZ Corporation, we care about the world. What world? There are multiple planets. Some of the girls say that there are multiple universes. Like, are we on Earth? Are we on Saturn? Are you caring about my world as a woman in Birmingham, Alabama? Are you caring about somebody in New York City? Are you caring about a small town, a rural town, a farm town? What area do you care about? Who is this for, and to what effect do you care? Are you, providing money through a foundation? Are you providing grants and opportunities? Are you doing free trainings? What are you doing to care for the world? So be clear on who you are and what you stand for, right? You can't fix everybody's problems, but there is a problem that you can probably be a solution to. So it's best to stay focused on that and then evolve and grow and expand your capacity as you can. The second is what we call cause washing. I'm very southern, so CAUSE, washing. And that is when you put values up, but there's no behavioral change, and there's really no actual centered purpose involved with that. So, like, if everyone is like, we think the blue elephants deserve a good chance, and you like, yeah, go elephants. Okay, what are you going to do to help the blue elephants go from being extinct, right? Your job is to actually do causes that have something to do with you. If you're an accounting firm, you may not necessarily have the capacity to actually do impactful change for blue elephants, but you could do impactful change for small businesses, including maybe a local animal shelter or a pet daycare, and they can use their proceeds to then go and effect change for the blue elephants. You can't champion every cause. You have to do the ones that are relevant for you, right? And lastly is going product first. A great example is like when the newest phone comes out, right? I don't have my phone is in use, but this is my phone. So when the newest phone comes out, they have these keynote addresses. They do these big marketing videos and these ads and billboards and everything to let you know it's happening. But they have a conversation with their customers every single time, at least with the big brands, to say, hey, that headphone jack you got, it's gone. And they don't leave the conversation there. They don't just start with the features. What they do is tell their customers what the outcome is. We remove the headphone jack so you can have more space to use different accessories with your phone, but also you'll get enhanced studio on the Bluetooth headphones that come with the phone. You won't necessarily need a separate cord. It makes it more convenient. You can have your phone in your pocket or in your bag and not necessarily have to hold on to it in order to listen to your shows or your movies or your music. We made it more friendly and more accessible for you all, right? And then they keep going with all the new features, right? But they always let their customers know, here's what you can expect from this change that we've made. And just keep that one line test we talked about on this slide in your head, because what you want to clarify next is what it is and what it isn't. So we're going to move into what that is and showcase that. So I thought it was just a lot easier to just do green lights and red flags because I couldn't find a green flag that I liked. So here we are. So this is just to represent stop, go, obviously, but also your filter. Just like when you're drinking a good chai, you're drinking a great black tea, you're drinking, you know, even, well, I think with matcha, you just pour it in. I don't drink matcha, but even with coffee, right? You know the goodness is in the bean. You know the goodness are in the leaves, but you don't want to consume that. They're bitter. They don't taste good, and it's just not a texture you want when you're drinking a refreshing hot beverage. So what you want to do, or cold, and what you want to do is you filter it through. So whether you're using a Keurig, you're grinding your own beans, or you're steeping your tea in loose leaf or in a bag, right? You use a filter so that you can get to the good stuff quicker, cleaner, and easier. So we do the same thing with our purpose. And your filter for your purpose is, does it serve my audience? Is it moving me towards the promised outcome I gave them? And did I include proof? Does it serve your audience? Are you moving towards your promised outcome? And did you include proof? So three signals you can give yourself to make sure you're doing right is that to make sure, once again, bringing up the iPhone, excuse me, not the iPhone, but bringing up the phones and how they're done, is that it is clear customer outcomes. We're not just listing features, we're telling them how they're going to feel. We're telling them what they're going to get, the experience they're going to have from using this new product or services. And then we're also being consistent with the offers that we give, plus the voice that we're using, right? If you have a brand kit, stay consistent with the brand voice that you and whoever is over your brand management develop together, because you don't want to say, oh, well, we at ABC firm, we only deal with small businesses, and then you go and try to do a proposal for a corporate contract. What you want to do is, like, we help all businesses. So make sure you're tweaking your language to be consistent, not only with your goals, but with your promises. So keep that consistent across the board. So that means your website should have similar language to your social media. Your social media should have similar language to how you present in person. Your in person presentation should be followed up with your printed marketing materials if you so choose to do that. So that includes your business card, that includes any brochures, flyers, sales cards, coupons, offers. That language needs to mirror each other. Obviously, there's sales basic language if you're trying to do sales specifically, but you need to make sure that the overall purpose and tone is unified, so that when I'm introduced to you for the first time, whether I meet you on your website, I meet you in person, I get a flyer in the mail, or I go on my social app and just scroll and discover you, I need to know what you're about. And I need to be able to discern that from just a few seconds of being on those platforms or being in your face. And lastly, did you attach proof? Let's talk about proof very quickly. Your proof is your testimonials, your client reviews, um, Google reviews, Yelp reviews, all of those count as proof. Your metrics. So I used the word KPI when I did this live, but key performance indicators. So just like when you do a 6 month plan with your boss, if you're a W-2 employee and you kind of have like goals and metrics you have to meet in order to justify your raise or even keep your job in some instances, you can create those same types of metrics with hopefully a lot less pressure and stress with your clients or your customers, but also internally. So just like I mentioned, the bookkeeping firm might want to reach a certain amount of clients who have reduce their excessive spending by this amount. If they achieve that goal or they get close to that goal, they want to use pieces of that information as a metric to show potential customers the work that they do, and that they do say what they do keep their promises. Lastly, let's think about some ways to revise our thinking or things that we should consider skipping when we're developing our purpose. And these are just three reasons. You will find way more when you do your own research, but three reasons to skip or revise is that trend jacking doesn't just serve your audience or promise, it's getting you attention without alignment, right? You can have 1 million followers, but if you only get one of them to convert, you're not that conversion rate is very low, right? You can do trends and you can make them apply to your industry, but don't just follow and copy, a 19-year-old who's doing a TikTok dance, and you go and do a TikTok dance, but you don't tell people that you also own this business. You don't have to do everything that everybody else is doing to be impactful. Next are vague claims. So just like that cause washing where we're just picking causes because it's popular, you don't want to make claims that don't have any actionable steps. People don't really tend to act on fuzzy claims. So you're saying, hey, book me and I'll update your books. And it's like, okay, what does that mean? Does that, saying you're giving me decision ready books in 60 days is way more clear and actionable, and then you can turn that into making a call to action, which we'll get to those in a second. But you can make that into something you can use to make an offer and get the sale. And lastly is doing a one-off campaign that breaks your promises or your policies. If you think back in the last 10 years, whether you're heavily influenced on social media or not, there have been different waves of social I would say, for lack of a better word, social justice trends or social justice causes that corporations have latched on to, right? And what happens is they'll do campaigns regarding those causes, but those campaigns may not either align with the promises and policies that they've previously made, or they shift those promises and policies to match this campaign, but they don't retain it. So then you build trust with a new audience, but then you break that trust in a couple of years when the next thing comes, right? You can, you need to be very careful about doing one off campaigns that don't really align with your brand and who you want your brand to represent. Whether you're an owner or an account manager, making sure that you are only doing campaigns that are in alignment with the values and policies set forth for your brand. Next, we want to talk framework. So this would be a great opportunity for you to screenshot. It's very clean, very simple. I didn't want to put a lot on the page. Everything begins with a why, right? Everything powerful begins with a clear why. If you can understand why somebody is doing it, whether you agree with it or not, it makes it a whole lot easier to eliminate this anxiety and stress you have about certain things. So your purpose is your anchor. It kind of gives you the mindset you need to have going into it, but it's just one sentence, right? You just have that one sentence for your anchor. And then your promise is the outcome or the change that you're committing to providing for your clients. And that aligns your decisions that you're making, right? I kind of keep my promise. So I'm not going to go over here and start offering um, charcuterie boards if I'm an accounting firm, because that has nothing to do with the promise I've made for my clients. I might give it to them as a gift, but I'm not going to turn around and try to focus my business on building a charcuterie branch when I'm supposed to be giving decision ready books. You know what I'm saying? That was a very extreme example, but I just wanted to bring it back to where it was relatable. And then lastly, your proof. And that brings you depth to your daily actions, but it's also the visible evidence that you keep your promise. That's why we mentioned the testimonials and things like that. So I wanted to also go over 5 new ways that you can provide proof to your clients that you can start using today, tomorrow, next week, next year, whenever you feel like it. So the first one is customer evidence. Those are your testimonials. Those are your reviews. If you do not have a Google page where people can leave reviews, if you don't have a Yelp page where people can leave reviews, create your own form and send them to your customers or your clients. And the reason why this can be a Google form, a jot form, um, a survey monkey, it can be any of those, whatever it was in your budget that makes sense to you, that is easy for you to access, right? And you can just start collecting those reviews and then publishing them on your website. You can have a dedicated page just for client reviews. Then that gives you, whoever you're doing your marketing with or whoever you're doing your socials with, it gives them a bank of content that they can pull from to showcase to your client. Like, hey, look how great we are. Susan said we did a great job. Jackson said we did a great job. And they're in 2 different industries and 2 different people, and they really love the work that we do. So you're showcasing that. And then also you have user generated content. If you are a product based organization, team, company, business, you need user generated content. User generated content. Think of, hey guys, come with me to unbox my Amazon order. Or hey guys, come with me. I just found this great small business that does perfumes and candles. Let's do blah, blah, blah. It's the influencers, but it's also just the regular everyday people who get and talk to their, 5 or 10 people who watch their stories and tell them like, hey, did y'all know this existed? This is great. User generated content. Encourage people to tag you on social media in your content. And it also gives you real time market research and feedback to see if it's working. So use that proof. Second, outcome evidence. This is your before and after. This is before you hired us, and this is what your books look like. After you hired us, this is what your books could look like. Your metrics. We talked about KPIs. Doing that. Case studies. You can change names, you can change industries, you can change certain outcomes, But you can write case studies and publish them on your website, send them in newsletters, use them in brochures to have people have a relatable example that they can use as proof that you do the work and you keep your promise. Next is process evidence. What is your method? How do you like to work? Give me a checklist of things I need to have before I contact you. Like, hey, are you ready to hire your next bookkeeper? Okay, here's 5 things you need to have before our first call. After you made that initial contact, give them that proof, or make it a public post, make it a blog post, make it a resource on your site. And what's your turnaround time? All of that is process. Show me the process of what it means to be a customer and go on this journey with you together. And then principal evidence, that's number 4. Those are policies that match your values. My first job was at a financial corporation, a bank. I worked in the contact center. When I left, I was working in support for the contact center. So myself and one other person did support for 16 state footprint. And we were the only ones, really, because we were in headquarters. We knew what we were doing, right? But we had to maintain the internal policies that get drilled into our head at onboarding. So at onboarding, we got told one of the policies, I'm just going to paraphrase for IP issues, but it's just going to be keeping people at the forefront, right? You want to keep people at the forefront. So anytime that this corporation made decisions that did not keep people at the forefront, it backfired. I was there. I took the calls. I got fussed at. So I know it backfired. You charge fees. You said you would never charge fees for this, and now you're charging fees. Okay, it doesn't matter how nice the press release is. They're not going to like it. And also, most of them are not going to read it. So keep that in mind. Make sure you make policies that you can stick to and that they match your values. If you can't stick to it, don't make it your policy. That's just really the easiest way to avoid issues like that. And lastly is community evidence. These are your collaborations. And I'm not talking about just on social media collabs. I'm talking about maybe you own a clothing line and you did a line with a very popular influencer or a popular singer or performer. And you're like, hey, it blah, 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 XYZ clothing line by Baby Blue, and you promote that because this person is a also physical embodiment of your values, but also certifications. Getting certified by different credentialing organizations or getting yourself certified as a professional. Services that you provide, is the quality there? So you want community evidence to show that you are actually in the community, you're doing the work, you're doing the knowledge to be better at what you're promising your clients. So just like we had that promise of decision ready books in 30 days, proof is that this was your baseline. This is what their books look like. After we went through and after their profit and loss statements, this is what it looks like. Then you want to show maybe some quotes and then do like a 1-pager of what their metrics were and what they are now, or just what metrics you achieved together. So just very simple, nothing too heady. Just wanted to go through that together. So next, this is definitely a screenshot moment. If I could move my head, I would, but I can't. So it is your message map. The main thing that is important here is going to be your audience, your pain points and needs, the brand promise, your proof points, and your call to action. So please screenshot this, save it, download it, whatever you need to do. Whenever you're ready to write a post, an email, or add a new page on your website, do a message map. And the reason why, it breaks it down into digestible segments for you and gives you almost a checklist to include so you don't have to create from scratch and leave something out. So I went ahead and used 2 different examples. The top one is is our finance firm, our bookkeeper, our our little small accounting agency, whatever you want to call it. And then the second one would be maybe a 1 to 3 person social media agency, very small, right? So their audience for the accounting firm is going to be local small business owners. Those are people who own businesses but are in their local area. So they can do more one-on-ones, more in-person meetings, things like that. The pain point or the well, it is a pain point right here. It's unorganized books and receipts. Most small business owners who don't have a type of financial or accounting or like even segmented type of way of thinking, those books are a mess. And the reason why is like even with QuickBooks or other major accounting software, you're going to have to still know the basics of what to put where in order to make sure your books are in alignment with what you need to file your taxes, whether that's yearly, quarterly, month to month, however you decide to do them as a business owner, or what's in alignment with IRS protocol, right? Let me say that. And then the next is your brand promise. So here we go again. Decision ready books. Very easy. We're going to give you books so you can make better decisions. We're going to give clean, clear, organized books. That's our promise to local small business owners who have unorganized books and receipts. If they have organized books and receipts, they don't need to hire this person because that's not a pain point that they have. It could be maybe I just need somebody to do it so I don't have to worry about it anymore. Different audience, okay? Then there are proof points. We already talked about it. Quotes, a metric snapshot. Also, it could look like onboarding. Like, hey, we take this very seriously. So all of our clients do a 48-hour onboard. That could be 2 business days that the client picks. They don't have to be in a row. And it could be like, this is what it looks like. This is our process. Breaking down those proof points even further so the client feels more confident in this decision to move forward. And the way you get them in the door is like, hey, you have unorganized books. We're ready to make your books decision ready. Like, we're here to make your books decision ready. Here's some quotes from clients where we've already done that. If you're ready to take that next step, go ahead and book a 15-minute call so we can get started and get this process rolling, right? This is very like relaxed. It's not super salesy, but it gets people comfortable and trusting in what you're going to say. And I want to go into the service founder line as well. So if you're a small agency, maybe a micro agency like myself and Marley, your key audience might be service founders. It could be people like myself who provide services to other businesses. My needs could be that we have inconsistent content. We do. So what we could be looking for is somebody that's going to guarantee us, for lack of a better word, don't use that word, but somebody who's going to promise us consistent on brand content. So they're not trying to make me look like somebody we're not. Like, they're not trying to make me look like a big Fortune 500 corporation, because that's not who we are. That's not the audience we're trying to serve, right? So one of the things that they can show us for proof is that they can give us a 30-day content calendar sample, right? We make content calendars, so we know what it should look like. So give me a sample of what yours look like. Yours might be better. It might inspire me to get my process better for my clients. A before and after of like an Instagram grid or TikTok or whatever social media platform is relevant at the time you're watching this, right? What does my page look like after working with you? And then maybe some stats, some case studies, like this person was only posting once a week for like every other month, and then they would stop, and then this and this. So we came up with a plan. I got them published. They're doing 3 to 5 posts every week, and now their engagement has tripled. Things like that. And then a call to action for a lot of people who are trying to get somebody who may be a more difficult sale. Give them something free. Be a resource. A proof point is a resource. So your call to action could be like, contact me today for your content audit. And it could be like, hey, we'll just do one platform. We're only going to go back 2 weeks, and we can just kind of tell you what we saw within those 2 weeks. And if you want us to do a full audit, it costs this much. So that's how you can like upsell them and things like that. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, definitely keep the message map. And if you don't remember anything else, remember this entire right side of the screen. So your brand promise, your proof points, and your CTA. So you have 1 promise, 3 proofs, and 1 CTA. 131. Okay. And that way you have a plethora of content from just those 3 columns that you can use to make so many different things to market your brand. Okay. Next, if you want to go ahead and pause the video here, this is your homework. What I want you to do is really break down what your brand purpose statement is. And like I said, this does not have to live on your website. This is going to be, it's just used to influence everything else. So this is more so for you. So it's like, I help who achieve what specific outcome through what is your approach? How do you do that? So that they can have meaningful benefit, right? So for our accounting firm, it'd be like, I help local small business owners achieve decision ready books through super detailed categorization so that they can be better informed to make decisions. Very clean, very simple. Not even my best, layout of that, but I just wanted to take the pressure off of it. So go ahead and pause this and give yourself about a minute or two to just write down different versions of this. And the main thing you should focus on is your outcome and your benefit. Highlight those, underline those, because what's going to happen is they feel too generic. They don't feel like they're specific enough or they resonate with you. Then what you want to do is tighten those up. So that might be Googling different synonyms to use. That could be maybe paraphrasing. If you do decide to use AI, I would definitely not tell AI to make up the whole statement for you, but more so ask you questions to fill in the blanks. So it could be like, hey, I'm working on this. A prompt you could use is, hello, I'm creating my brand purpose statement. I don't want you to write it for me, but I want you to ask me questions about everything in the brackets so that I can break it down and make it myself. And what it'll do is ask you different questions based on the who, the specific outcome, the approach, and the meaningful benefit. And some of them might be relevant, some of them might be not, but it'll give you opportunities to think about that and really break it down. If you really want to get that deep into it, you don't have to. But that is a way. If you do want to use AI for that, I would suggest you get it to ask you questions so that you can come up with the final layout. And it's more so, it's still created by you, it's still authentic to you. And it's not just something you're doing to check off a box, right? You're doing it with intention. Okay, welcome back. Thank you so much for pausing. If you didn't pause, I understand. But let's talk about social capital and then wrap this thing up. So, with social capital, what that is how your relationships that move your brand, it is goodwill that you build and it's developed through trust, reciprocity, and shared goals. So I'm going to mention an organization called the Alabama Women in Business because that's the original audience this was designed for. But they're a membership-led organization. They're a nonprofit, and they work to help connect women in business to each other so that they can use their social capital to help expand their reach and their growth, right? It's not to out anyone. It's literally just to create an environment for this group of like-minded individuals, right? So basically what you want to do with your social capital is think of it as not as transactional, but it's literally an investment. It's a seed that you're sowing that you're going to reap a harvest for. And if you sow bad seeds, you reap bad harvest. That's really just it. So 3 ways that you could try to build social capital this week. And I actually am going to break down a framework to give you an actual reasonable timeline for that. But 3 ways you can do that is you can introduce 2 people that should meet. It's going to say members here because it was a member led organization. But intro 2 people you know who you think should meet. It can be via text, it can be via email, phone call. Maybe y'all are on the same web call for something or a webinar and you send them a private chat. Just 2 people who you know, like, hey, you mentioned you were having issues with your bookkeeping. Here's Nancy. She owns her own bookkeeping firm. I don't know her pricing. I always like to say, I don't know how much it costs. Even if I do, I don't know, right? I don't know how much she's cost. I don't know what discount she has, but y'all, it would be worth the conversation. And they could be like, oh, okay, cool. And you put them together and let them take it from there. Your hands are off of it. You've already given into your social capital with both of them. Next is to spotlight a win. Spotlight a friend's win. If a friend gets promoted, gets a new certification, goes back to school, has a baby, whatever you achieve, it doesn't matter whether it's only professional. They can move across the country and you could be like, oh my God, this is so great. Look, y'all, look what my friend did. Or it could be a colleague, an associate, someone you know, a mentee, a mentor. Spotlight them because when you celebrate other people publicly, it makes you it not only does it make you look good, but it also establishes you as someone that people can count on to lift them up. We've all had bad days, we've all had bad years, bad months, bad timelines, whatever you want to call it. So it always helps if someone is celebrating you, because you oftentimes don't take the time to celebrate yourself. So what you want to do is make sure you're doing that for others, so that when it's your turn to be celebrated, you have a whole cheering squad of people ready to celebrate you without you asking, right? And when you spotlight people, take yourself out of it. Don't give an antidote about how you know them and this and that. Just say, this is such a great thing. This person does amazing work. I'm so proud of you. That's it. You don't say, well, she helped me do this and this and this, unless you're really helping to sell the services or business that they provide, right? If it's not going to be something people can piggyback on to use to give that person an opportunity or money or whatever they're looking to get, then don't put yourself in it. Don't use a lot of this person did this person did this for me, more so as you're just celebrating them for who they are. Lastly, is to be a resource. Create micro resources, things that don't, when you don't feel like sending a bunch of emails and you just want to clear your brain, you can open an app, and you can create some opportunities for people to learn from you. So yeah, create a resource. It could be something like a checklist or a template, where you use one software or the other, just an accessible template that people can use, that's related to the work you do. And then lastly, kind of keep a 3-to-1 give as for every 3 genuine gives you do, then ask somebody. It creates a network of generosity, and it makes it less transactional. So that way, when people are interacting with you, they don't expect to be asked something every single time. It could just be like, oh, yeah, she always celebrates me, or she always reposts my things. When she asked me, could I make a connection to this person I know, it was a no-brainer, because she never asked me for anything. So it could be things like that. And obviously take everything with a grain of salt. You do what works best for you as an individual. But just remember, just like interest, your small, consistent gives, they're going to compound. And then especially if you are already in some type of group, which I definitely encourage you to get in some type of professional alignment group, or if you're a student based group with like-minded individuals, because you're going to encourage and support each other, but also it gives you connections that could help you in the long run, whether that be professionally, personally, things like that. Social Capital got my best friend married. I didn't even know I was introducing her to her future husband when I did. It's just because I knew this person. I thought that they should know each other, because we were both at the same. She was about to transfer to my college, and he was already at my college. And he usually was around sometimes when I was. So I was like, hey, let me show you this person, so you don't think it's a random person just popping up. And then now they're married. So I just think that's a great opportunity to just kind of think through ways, think through things in a different way. Next is this framework that I want you to remember. You can also take a screenshot of this. I don't think my head's in the way too much, but it's called the 14-day sprint. It's a 14-day plan to break down everything we've talked about today in this video into actionable, digestible, spaced out steps. So the first phase, write your purpose in your 1-sentence promise, which is just that full 1-sentence line statement we talked about. Pick one audience. You do not need to address all of your audience segments at one time. There's no way you can talk to everybody all at once and it is received the same way by all those people. Okay, so you're going to pick an audience segment. If you're the accounting owner, well, let's go back to the social media agency. If you're the social media agency and your key audience are people who provide what we call B2B, business to business services, you're only going to speak to those people. You're not going to talk to people who deal with products and customers. You're going to deal with people who talk to other businesses. So make sure you use your language, your tone to those people. Next phase is the next 4 to 7 days is to fill in one row in your message map. Do not try to be a track star, a superstar, an all A student, and do an entire message map with every audience that you serve all at one time. That is not going to serve you, because you're going to lose focus. And you're going to get overwhelmed because when you're done, you're going to have lines and lines and lines of things that you feel like you have to get done. So one row at a time, because then you can create, publish, get it out there, adjust accordingly, and start all over again. Okay? So do that. And then while you're doing that, when you finish, after you finish your last call to action for that row, go back to those proof points in that column and publish 2 of them. Make social media posts, publish them on your website, create a story, do a live and bring a client on, and so that y'all can do a Q&A together about what your process was like. Do behind the scenes video and show like that. Show your KPI metrics. Or if you did a collaboration recently, do a highlight of that so people know that you actually, like, oh, I didn't know they know each other. Yes, we know each other. We work together all the time. Because if their person already has brand loyalty and trust, guess what? You get to build in off their own capital just by collaborating with them. So keep that in mind, just one thing at a time. Next phase is you're going to make one give. So you're going to make an intro to somebody, you're going to create a resource, or you're going to spotlight somebody, whether that be on your personal page, your business page, your website, in person. Do those things. And then lastly, for phase 2, going into the second week, publish one clear offer to that audience with a simple call to action. So for our social media agency, her offer could be like, B2B businesses, I'm offering free content audits for the whole month of October if you book me in the next 2 days, right? Um, Contact me through this method. This is definitely not cleaned up, but I'm just telling you, just one clear offer. And if you don't do anything else in your 14-day sprint, in the next 2 weeks, publish those proof posts, and publish that offer in that CTA. And the reason why is because it's going to be doable, it's going to be repeatable, and it's not going to be stressful. Those are 3 things to do in 2 weeks. So if you cannot do everything else, do those proof points and do that clear offer and get those out there, because that's what's going to start getting people to notice. Whether you get 1 like or 1 million likes, focus on those 2 things if you feel like the 14-day plan is just not feasible for you at this time, right? And also, don't chase platforms. Don't try to be like, I'm going to get this many followers by December and get engagement up this month. Don't stress about that unless you are the social media agency. Don't stress about that, because you as a business owner can't do that. You have to have someone dedicated. That is a 24-hour job. Okay. So don't chase platforms. Also, these platforms can disappear tomorrow. We don't own them. You don't own your page. You don't own your presence on there. They can block you, ban you, all kind of things if they don't like what you have to say. So make sure that you're being consistent in every area that you use, so that if you do lose one avenue, to communicate with your audience, you have other ways for them to communicate. If nothing else, make sure you have a landing page with a domain that you own. Okay. And then make it doable, make it repeatable, make it something that you can get comfortable to. So it's just like any skill, you're going to have to practice it and get better at it slowly but surely. Okay. Lastly, let's connect. If you are watching this video, you kind of already know about the Marls Collective in some capacity, but you can find me on LinkedIn. You can email us at admin@themarls.co, or you can follow us on social at the Marls Collective. If you do want some information on to where I source this information, here's our source side that has the study about the consumers and how they're more likely to purchase. As well as information for the Alabama Women in Business example I used, and the Marls Collective, which is our website, which is www.themarls.co, or themarls.co, just wherever you like. But if you really enjoyed this presentation, please leave us a comment below or send us a nice DM, or let us know, like, hey, I was talking too fast, I talked too slow, I talked too southern. Let me know so we can adjust it for the next educational video. And lastly, I just want to thank you. I want to thank the Alabama Women in Business for originally sponsoring and hosting this presentation. I want to thank my business partner, Marley Townsend, our Chief Creative Officer and co-founder. And I want to thank you. I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank you for taking the time to finish this presentation. And hopefully you learned something today. And if you didn't, let me know. Maybe we'll adjust it and get it better next time. But this has been Purpose Centered Branding. Thank you so much. Once again, I am Marlesa Willis, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.